Good morning, everybody. Fergus Dolan here from NALA. We're delighted to have you here this morning for our webinar. It's the second webinar in our literacy awareness series. And this morning's webinar is looking at using a literacy-friendly approach in practice. So we've two speakers this morning, two facilitators. Trish Nolan is Executive Librarian with Carlow County Library Service. Hi, Trish.
Hi, Fergus. Good morning, everyone.
And Helen Walsh is Regional Literacy Coordinator with Kilkenny and Carlow ETB. Hi, Helen.
Morning, folks.
And my colleague Derv Ryan is helping me organise this. Hi, Derv.
Good morning, everyone.
So I'll hand you over to Helen. Helen's going to start this morning. So all the best, Helen.
Thanks, Fergus. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us this morning. I was just listening back yesterday to the previous recording. It was with Celine McInerney there from Lee Chaffley, and it was a brilliant presentation, so we have a hard act to follow. I suppose today we're looking at using a literacy-friendly approach in practice. So what can you do on the ground in your organisation or your company or your business? So just a little bit of an overview there. This is Trish's nice slide here in some other language, just to show you, to startle you and what it might be like if you had unmet literacy needs and you struggle to read something. So we're not going to focus on that. So this morning we're going to look at what is literacy in the broader term. It's not, it has expanded a lot over the years, I suppose. And then we're looking at the meaning of being literacy friendly, recognizing the signs that a service user or somebody coming into your service or to your business, some of the signs that they may show. Then Trish is going to speak about the Literacy Ambassador Programme in Carlow, which I suppose finished up there earlier this year. So I suppose Trish was on for over a year or so. And then the practical things, what can you do or where to from here? Where can we direct you, or what services can we put you in touch with? So
sorry, Fergus, that's not sharing properly, is it?
Yeah, it wasn't sharing there. If we just hold up one sec, Helen. Share again, Trish.
Okay, I'll try again. Apologies, everyone. I love technology. And we're talking about digital literacy, which is hard.
So older adults, Trish, you're not an older adult.
I'm trying slideshow from beginning and it's not.
Try first the slideshow. You see, go across a bit, Trish, to midway. Yes. You see the underlined slideshow. Try it maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah, you see beside animations the word slideshow up just above. Did you press it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This worked earlier.
Yeah, it did. When we tried. Okay, do you have any other suggestions?
Derv, tech person.
I mean, you see at the bottom, you see notes, and if you go all the way to the right where you see a kind of projection on, if you click that, maybe it might work.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Well done, Derv. Thanks.
Thanks, Derv. Okay. That's okay with everyone?
Yep. So you can go on there to what is literacy, Trish.
There we go.
Perfect. So this visual is probably difficult for you to read from where you are. It's actually a page from the Adult Literacy for Life strategy. And this is one of the documents that Fergus will circulate with you later. So I suppose when we look at literacy, traditionally, we would always have said it's the ability to read and write and maybe work with numbers. But in more recent times, I suppose it has expanded a lot. We look at functional literacy, and even this is expanding from what's here in this report. And we look at family literacy, we look at health literacy, which is huge. We look at financial literacy. There's even ads on the telly recently there for financial literacy, digital literacy, in all areas of life, wherever we are. And I suppose it's not fixed. You need to be using it to understand it. There recently I saw one, Helen Ryan from the Olafs sent us details about a tax literacy webinar. So environmental literacy, eco literacy, there's lots there. It's not just the reading and writing. And I suppose to have the reading and writing skills or digital skills, it's one thing, but you also need the confidence to use them. And that's a huge issue with some of the adults. I would have worked at the literacy service for a good number of years before this role. And lots of people have the skills, but because they haven't used them or they haven't had the opportunity to use them, they go rusty and they forget to do things, and then they don't have the confidence. So we're not saying that there's a huge number of people that can't read or write. It could be the confidence, or it could be just lacking the skills. We don't use the term illiterate anymore. I suppose at one stage that would have been used. So throughout this presentation, we'll refer to unmet literacy needs. So that's what we say if somebody has unmet literacy, numeracy, or digital needs. So that's just kind of a very broad overview. As I said, we will circulate that page, and you can have a look. We might also circulate about the numbers. Like we say, 1 in 5 adults have trouble with reading, writing, or spelling, and 1 in 4 adults could have unmet numeracy needs, and almost 1 in 2, half the population, could have unmet digital needs. So the numbers are pretty stark. So we might move on to the next one there, Trish. So I suppose what we're looking at today is, what do you think it means to be literacy friendly? And we're going to throw this out to you. Fergus said we're to put pressure on you to engage, to unmute, or to use the chat box. And we'd like a little bit of feedback from yourself, one or a 2-word answer, or it's okay to pass or not to get involved. What do you think it means to be literacy friendly? Like, why are you here today? What do you think it means? So do we have anyone that would like to start the ball rolling?
Be brave, unmute.
Come on,
What
don't be
about
shy.
your organization?
I have to go on the stairs, yes.
Oh yeah, okay. Baby, come here, baby.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What-
Hi.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Nicole.
Helen?
Yeah,
Hi, can you hear me?
we can.
It's on here. I used to work in the literacy service in Tala, and I think what it means to be literacy friendly is to have an awareness. You know, I think you did say it earlier. It's just to kind of see where they're coming from.
Mhm.
You know, I do remember when somebody was coming up to the centre, what it would take for them to do that. You know, absolutely could have taken years, months, weeks, and sometimes they'd come to the door and they'd go away. And I think what I was really trying to do there was just, I suppose, be a friendly face for a start. And, you know, there were some people that would hand them a pen or a paper, and I thought, God, that's the last thing they want to be handed, is a
Mhm.
pen or a piece of paper. So I think to be literacy friendly, I know you were looking for 1 or 2 words. Sorry. To be literacy friendly is probably just to see the signs and realize the nerves and the absolute, you know, courage that it took
Yeah.
for that person. I think that's the first thing, apart from other signs that you see afterwards, but just the encouragement to say, like, you know, please come in, please sit down, and, you know, there's someone here to help. No, you don't have to write anything down.
And the confidence, like the confidence is a huge thing, Anne, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I use you as an example this morning, Trish? When she was struggling there to get the PowerPoint, like, it was grand for Trish or myself or for any of us here to say, oh God, I can't work this. What do you do? What do I need to press? But if you felt you didn't have the skills or you didn't have the confidence, you wouldn't do that, and you'd probably just shy away from it. And we'll come back to that again in a few minutes. That's great, Anne. I'm looking here at some of the comments coming in. Don't make assumptions. To use short, simple words. Yeah, plain English, I suppose, and we'll refer back to this as well at the end. Listening is probably, and I even think back to our tutor training days a long time ago, and listening is probably the hardest skill. And when you do work in literacy, I suppose you're more tuned in, and be it in real life or outside of here, you often hear people say, my God, they don't listen. Listening is really, really hard. And for a person to feel that they're being listened to is huge. Being aware, cut out the jargon, absolutely. Clarity, understanding, yeah. Sure, you're all brilliant.
Helen, I think Michael had his hand up. Michael, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I suppose in terms of myself now, I would work with a lot of people from the travel community. So, and the kind of things that we see there when we're kind of trying to be aware of people's literacy issues would be that like if somebody comes in and they need support, that we would read it for them, but we would try and go slowly through it and make sure that they understand everything and explain it and break it down to them to make sure they're not missing anything. So that'd be something that we would look at. And even in terms of like passing out information back out to the community, we try not to use, like if you're doing a leaflet, like lots of words, like pictures, kind of small sentences straight to the point. So that's the kind of stuff that we would use around being literacy friendly. So.
Yeah, and we'll have lots of examples, Michael, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I suppose even an opportunity like this to share ideas, and you know, that'll spark something with somebody else and say, oh God, yeah, we could do that. We're not looking at huge changes, and it's not rocket science. It's very practical things. Just looking at the messages here, how to make your service available for us. Less is more, being available. Yeah, understanding towards people, not absolutely to be non-judgmental. Yeah, and people at different levels. Like you could have somebody really, really good at reading and writing, particularly I suppose in the older cohort. But when it comes to the digital skills, then that they're struggling and under pressure. But the only difference there, I suppose, is they'll have the confidence to tell you that they're struggling. Communication and manner. Yeah. Are you all happy with the comment? Can you all see the comments coming in there? Yeah. And it's everything.
Sorry, I just wanted to say also that I also, like, I'm a member of the traveller community and I work as an education development worker. And what I find sometimes is the assumptions can go the other way. A lot of times people assume that travellers can't read. And sometimes when they're approached, and it's not nice for them to feel like you're assuming that.
Yeah.
I just find I haven't come across it as a major problem, but I have come across it. So we have to be careful how we can't just assume.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually haven't come across that, but it is a really good point. We have a tutor here. She's probably one of the older tutors in Kilkenny, and she always says that there's a NAS in assume. So you can't assume. You can't assume anything about anyone, but sometimes that's harder. Yeah, that's a really good point. Anyone else like to make a comment there before we move on?
No.
Are you all too shy? Okay, but that's great. Anything there on the chat that's different? Yep, super, perfect. So, yeah, so these are just some of the answers, I suppose, that we were saying to recognize that a person may have unmet literacy. So they may have, and that's coming back. Sorry, what was your name? Anne, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, about assuming that different cohorts would have unmet literacy. You can't assume anything. As you were saying, the welcome environment, the service, even I have that here, what you say and what you do. I remember my dad saying to me one time, I was going to a funeral. I said, oh, I don't know what to say. I was only 16 or 17. He said, you don't have to say anything. It's how you make somebody feel. So whether it's a smile on your face or to shake their hand or whatever, it's how you make, that's what they'll remember. Signage, that's huge. To have that in plain English, have it color coded, have pictures, have visuals, have arrows and that sort of thing. Registration forms, application forms, all of that. I suppose do we have anyone here, I wonder, from the ETBs? That's a big bone of contention at the moment about the learner detail forms. Some improvements were made on them, but they're not good. So there is work that's happening. There is work on that, and that can be a huge barrier for people. And again, what Anne was saying here about making time for people, like it only takes a few minutes, and I know we're all busy, but sometimes you just have to make time and have the person at the center of everything that we're doing. On the next slide now, and Trish will be talking about the literacy friendly County Carlow in a few minutes. So we have two visuals here. But maybe first, if you want to give us a bit of feedback there, if you want to unmute or stick it in the chat, how do you think you might recognise an adult presenting who would have unmet literacy, numeracy or digital needs? Any ideas? Don't be shy, it's a Friday morning. Are we all gone quiet?
One thing in the library that we get people, they forgot their glasses or something, and we have spare glasses for people, but they don't avail of them. But you get the impression that maybe they don't want to fill out the form, or can
Yeah.
you fill that out and then I'll sign it or something.
Absolutely. Years ago, in the time of a checkbook, that was a big thing. Here, you fill it in. I forgot my glasses. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody saying there about avoiding, absolutely avoiding. Avoiding would be huge. Can I bring it home? Can I get somebody else to do it? You forgot your glasses, making an excuse, changing the subject even. Arthur, I'll do that later. Maybe I don't have a pen, or the pen doesn't work. Different things like that. Anyone else there with any ideas? What about in the workplace? Would you have come across anybody who might be struggling, or you feel might have struggled? Not having the confidence in the writing, yep. Often we would come across adults who would avoid promotion, or avoid interviews, or avoid progression, purely because they wouldn't have the confidence. And these are both outlined here. Don't worry, the print is really small, but again, this is going to be a link that Fergus will send out to everybody afterwards. We would have come across in literacy over the years people who would have come in. They may have been on other courses in their workplace, or wanting to upskill, but they might have dropped out. They were under pressure. Maybe their assignments were late, different things, and just things to watch out for like this. There's some really good points here on these 2 pages. I don't think you're able to see them because they are quite small. But as I said, we will circulate them to you. So I think we're over to Trish now. So Trish came up with this idea, the Literacy Friendly County Carlow, probably a couple of years ago, Trish, I think. So
yeah, it's a couple of years at this stage.
Yeah.
And moving on from there.
Yeah, so now it's over to you.
Great, thanks, Helen. And just before we move on from this one, just to say this leaflet is part of a resource pack that we compiled as part of the Literacy Friendly County Carlow kind of initiative or resources. There's a link to it on the actual last page of this presentation, and our contact details. So feel free, we can share those with you. I have some actually physical copies as well, if anybody wants those. So just to move on a little bit, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Literacy Ambassador Programme. Not too much, because we're really going to focus on kind of the learnings and the more practical aspects of what came from that. Start of all, the Literacy Friendly County Carlow project was an initiative we took up in Carlow, looking at the Carlow as the county in general, and how we could raise awareness, across the communities about literacy difficulties, and how to be more literacy aware. And from that, the Ambassador Programme came. And what we were trying to do here, and our aim of this pilot, was really to engage local businesses and organisations in making their workforce more literacy aware. So the idea was that they would nominate somebody from the staff who would actually take part in the programme. It ran over a series of 4 or 5 workshops, and these were literacy awareness, plain English training, and the final one then was actually how to provide literacy friendly services. The whole idea behind this that we had was that by training somebody in the workplace in this area, giving them a bit of time to work on it, that they would go back to the workplace and kind of spread the word among their colleagues. Identify ways that they could actually improve and make everything more accessible for people. It was a very successful program. We had 15 participants altogether, and the sign of success was actually that they kept coming back, which was brilliant. And they represented a range of agencies in Carlow. So we had the court service, family resource centres, regional youth centre, and so on, and some county council departments. Just to say that it was a collaboration between the Library Service, ETB and NALA, and our funders, Dormant Accounts, and then support of Carlow County Council and the ETB. If you'd like any information, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the structure of the workshops or so on, but we do have a really good report. And again, the link to that is on the last page of this presentation. So do have a look at that. It's very interesting, and you get some great ideas and kind of comments. there from the people who took part. So really to come on then, as I said today, just trying to be a little bit practical. Some of these, as we've said already, you might be able to see them very well here on the screen, but you can access the document themselves. And it's really just to kind of give you, a quick look and an idea or a sense of what can be done very easily. So forms, the participants were asked to bring along some items or documents that, that they weren't happy with, that they weren't happy that people were able to access or fill properly. That the design was leading to complications. So Jake from the environment section brought along this form here. This is what he started with. And he found people were having an awful lot of difficulty filling this out. So at the end of the course, this is the redesign. So just at a glance, you can see how easier and how clearer that the form on the right is to the form on the left. It's feedback from him that, at a later stage, then it had made a big difference. He was getting the forms correctly completed, and people were kind of understood what they were being asked. And as a side effect of that, he was also being asked then within the section and within other departments to redesign some of their forms. So we took that as a win for the actual programme. And newsletter then, Fiona in the PPN, the Public Participation Network, she's responsible for designing a newsletter, monthly newsletters for circulation among the members. But she again felt that it could be improved and the design could be improved. So again, here's a start, and here's the one that she finished with. She's still working on it, but you can see again at a glance, even from a distance, if you can't, if it's not too clear, but you can still see the design there is an awful lot clearer and more accessible for people. And the idea here then, as I said, it can be something small. Like Helen said, it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be a huge change. So here are some ideas that some of the library staff came up with when they were taking part in the course. One was about registration forms. We've mentioned forms already. And basically what they thought was to get the registration form, but fill in a sample. So here, apologies for the it's not very distinct, but you can see the highlighted here. What they've done is they've filled out sample forms, one an adult and a children's one, and highlighted the areas that need to be completed. And what they do at the desk in the library, we have these laminated copies, and when somebody joins up and they're filling out the form, they might just hand this out to them. I know, Jane, you were saying earlier that you can't assume that somebody can read or can't read, but this is kind of a nice way and a very, a subtle way of just handing something out without drawing attention to anything. You can give it to anybody and nobody needs to be any the wiser. But it actually works very well, and they're using it a lot in the branches. And the second one is just a very simple flyer, which again is on our library desks in each of our branches. Designed in-house very easily, but it's so clear and people really use it all the time. So they're just examples of what you can do and what can be done very simply. So I'm going to just move on with some participant feedback, and if you don't mind me for a minute, because I have some things written here. Because as well as the concrete and those examples, there's also, we got feedback from those participants, and there's a lot of ideas coming from here, and maybe some of these might resonate with you. So I'm just going to look at two questions. The first one was, how has the workshops or the program changed the way you think about literacy, numeracy, and digital literacy? So the three themes that came across in all the responses were awareness, understanding, and patience. And I know a lot of you from the chat at the beginning, you're very aware of this yourselves, but they were really three that, that came across very strongly in what people learned during the program. I just want to give you three just quotes here on those. It increased my awareness, which enabled me to change the way I interact with people. It has made me more positive about changes that we can make and more positive that they'll make a difference. Second one, it has helped me to be more aware that people have difficulties and to help them with things and explain things in easier terms. These are all points that you've kind of hit on earlier. And here's one, and I think it was Anne from Tala there, you were one of the first people to speak there, and something you said actually kind of resonates with this. It has reinforced and reminded me of the function of our service and the range of people we cater for. Because often we're so busy, caught up in the day-to-day, and have to get returns and fill forms and so on, that sometimes it's good to just take a step back, think, what is our function? What are we about? Who are we dealing with? Who are we catering for here? And just take the time. And as I said, the understanding and the patience. And the other question then, I'm going to give you some examples up here, or some of the quotes from people, was what changes will you make to your work? A lot of this, which we were very happy about, because it's what the program is about, was to get the colleagues on board. You tell other staff about the course, write easy text. Interesting one here, talk to staff about how to spot literacy issues over the phone. So as Helen's already said, it's not just about reading and writing. There's so much more to it, but it's speaking to people, the way you deal with people, helping them with forms, as we said, and things like that. But it's also the phone, and it's the way you speak to people as well. It's not just necessarily about reading, as we said. And to explaining the forms, we've said, yeah, make sure they fully understand. Some people said they were actually going to take, maybe if they thought somebody was struggling, they'd take them to one side, they'd make a little space, have a little space available, discreetly, where they can spend time with people and go through anything that's of difficulty. The other thing, plain English, which is a big thing. Using plain, simple English, short sentences. This is a nice idea that some people might pick up on. Simplify complex legislation. We have to explain to people or the public on a regular basis. There might be something that people continuously in your work, or that is very complex. But if somebody was able to take the time, put that clearly into a few sentences, and you just have that as a template if somebody comes in to ask, covering the main things, but just in an easier way. Other thing here that I thought about, apart from simplified forms and documentation and signage and so on, is we've spoken about, your customers or your people who use your services. And also, Helen, you hit earlier as well on actually the people who work with you, people in the workplace, but the people who actually work even in your organization, or if you're managing, staff or whatever, just to be aware that they might be struggling. And some of the participants picked up there, like they were going to make changes to assessment materials and evaluations, and that that kind of material that they were in charge of, and anything that they had control over themselves. They're going to make that more clear and just be more aware of who they're speaking with, and to make it easier for them. Now we're going to have a look. We're going to have a little look and show you this video as part of the Literacy Friendly County Carlow. We produced 3 different videos, and this was really in their targeted as managers to them in terms of how literacy awareness and being literacy friendly can be good for their business and good for their employees and their customers. And there's a general video as well. This is the one for the customers, but I just think some of the stats here and some of the information you might find a bit interesting, and you might get some more ideas here.
Without knowing it, your organization could be losing customers as well as potential customers due to complicated literature, signage, and procedures. Organizations are wasting money on time spent dealing with avoidable misunderstandings, mistakes, or complaints. In Ireland today, 18% of adults have difficulty reading, 25% of adults struggle with numbers, and 42% of adults have poor digital skills. In Carlow specifically, 17% of people have not completed second-level education or taken the Leaving Cert, and are likely to have some literacy or numeracy needs. Recent research in Carlow shows that people use services and businesses where they are comfortable. Your customers need to be able to read information and inquire about your business or service, place orders, read and pay bills, understand health and safety issues related to your product or service. Customers vote with their feet. If a customer finds your business's written information too demanding, they will simply go somewhere else. So how can you keep these customers coming back? The most important thing is to make them feel comfortable and be literacy friendly. Make your information as clear as possible. Offer customers a range of contact methods, including phone, email, in-person, or even a callback service. Train your staff to spot signs of someone having a difficulty with printed information and how to deal with the situation sensitively. Following these steps will improve your service for those who struggle with literacy, while bringing more custom and positive feedback to your business. For more information and advice on how to literacy-proof your business, check out the Literacy-Friendly County Carlow Resource Pack, available from the Project Coordinator. You can also contact the following organisations within County Carlow. Or alternatively, get in touch with NALA, the National Adult Literacy Agency. Be literacy friendly.
Okay, I know it's very Carlow focused as the project was, but just to give you an
Sorry,
idea.
Trish,
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you there. There's a bad echo on your mic now, just came on the last minute or two.
Okay.
Is there anything you've changed at all, or anything you could try? Some people have have put it in the chat as well.
Oh, sorry. There's nothing I've changed.
It was going like for 99% of the webinar, it was going 100% fine, and then
Okay.
just before the video, it started. The echo started. It was difficult to hear you properly.
Am I okay now? Was it something to do with the video?
No, not okay now.
Okay.
Well, we can hear you, but it's difficult.
Okay.
Ask everyone to mute themselves. Sometimes an echo happens because of that.
Okay, thanks. Everyone mute, please.
Okay, is that any better?
No. You're muted now, Trish. Helen, can you continue, or are these Trish's slides?
Yeah.
from
No,
now on?
this is the end actually, Trish, isn't
This is,
it?
yeah.
And as Trish said, the link to all the resources and the report and everything will be circulated, and it's here on the end of the presentation as well. So I suppose the next thing we were going to do, we were going to put you into breakout rooms. I'm not sure how much time you want to allocate for them, Fergus, because we want to come back with signposting and where to direct people, and any questions and answers. So we had 2 questions for the breakout rooms. The first one is to think about your organisation, wherever it is, and how literacy friendly is your workplace. And then the second question is, what changes could you make to make your service more literacy friendly? Just practical, simple steps maybe to get started with, but what do you think you could do to make it a little bit better?
Helen or Trish, could one of you copy those questions into the chat,
Yeah,
please?
perfect.
So will I give them 10 minutes, Helen?
Yeah, that's plenty. Yep. Are you happy to go for 10 minutes? And I'll stick the questions in here. Or are you doing it, Trish?
Yeah.
Echoey Trish.
Yeah. So just when they're, let me know when they're posted in.
Okay.
I just took them in there, Fergus. They should be in the chat now.
Oh yeah, they are. Okay. Well, I open the breakout rooms then. Okay. We'll
see you in a few minutes.
We'll see you all in 10 minutes. Okay, back over to you, Helen.
I think Trish is going to start there with the first question.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me now. I think we sorted out the issue while you're in your breakout rooms. Sorry about that. What I'm going to do is just ask a couple of the groups there about question 1. So group 1, if your spokesperson is there handy, please, and could you just kind of give us some ideas about how literacy friendly your workplace is, and who do we have?
I don't know which group we were in.
Catherine's group.
Catherine's group then. Okay, we'll say
Okay, great.
Catherine's group. Okay.
Okay, so that's myself and the gang. So while a lot of us were saying that we're literacy aware, just given years of experience with the cohort that we're working with, we're the outside forces that we've no control over, for example, the CDE2B forms or the grant application or an Intrio Department of Social Protection form, that's really a challenge for us. So we're just saying, even for me, it's a reminder with the CDE2B form, which has been kind of scaled back a bit, but just to make sure that we've got the tip there, you know.
Catherine, that's a huge bone of contention everywhere across the country. It is.
You know, so
Helen did mention those ETB forms. They are horrific, and
I
don't have to use them as much.
Just general government forms that we might be literacy aware, but it's the kind of outside forces that we're kind of stuck with. It's all off-putting. And then in terms of what changes would you make, Mary, you were talking about cross collaboration. You know, we're all coming up with we're coming up against similar things, and maybe it needs to be kind of all pooled together and documented, because we're all going through it at different times, and maybe it's getting lost in an opportunity to bring that change or bring the request for change back. And just in terms of other forms, just down to the, you know, again, you had an example earlier, just having the sample form, the one in the library, here's that reminder, that's great to do even with the CDP form, highlight in yellow just the parts that really need to be filled out and have that sample. And then Michael, part of the team, was just saying as well, just in terms of having the private space for somebody to fill out a form as well, because often people might be in a group situation, and remembering that, you know, that just take it to the side, rather than, you know, to avoid somebody feeling like, oh, it's my turn next, or I can't do it, you know, so things like that. So
thanks for that, Catherine.
No problem.
Thanks for that. And I suppose I know the departmental forms are an issue, and I don't know at governmental level, Fergus, is there some involvement with departments, or are you aware, or Helen, from the all?
It's coming up all the time with in the Adult Literacy for Life space. I suppose it's back, as when we'd approach it here, it's back to funding, it's back for the information that Europe are looking for, but look, people are talking about it, and they're probably, there's no movement evident right now, but like, I think there will be, there has to be.
Which would be great. And group 2, does anyone know who group 2? Do we have a spokesperson from group 2? Fergus, you're on mute there.
Yeah, I think we were group 2. Is it?
Who have I got there? Yep.
I'm not the spokesperson now, but I think
all right.
So whoever was in my group.
We're just concentrating on the first part of the first question there. So, how literacy friendly is your workplace? Do you want anything to add there to what Catherine said, or anything different?
Were we group 2?
Yeah, I think so. And I was looking for you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Ed.
I think I accidentally got nominated to.
Oh, did you? I love when that happens.
Well, I think it's because I just started it off by trying to bring up a topic about how literacy is your workplace. Well, I'm not in the literacy workplace now, but I did have experience of it, and still an interest. I was of the opinion, and I said this, that I thought it would have been a really good idea, but it was outside the constraints of my role. If we had a liaison person, and this is just in our workplace, which was a literacy centre, for people who would approach the centre, because the process was that you would come to the literacy centre, someone would look after you, and they you know, sit down with you and give you a form, a basic form to fill out. But I thought, because they didn't know what they were coming into, because they hadn't a clue what it was like, they thought it was like school. They thought they'd have to read in front of someone or write in front of someone, and they were really scared. I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a liaison person just there to sit with you and just see where you're at, because different people have different levels of literacy, and just see where you're at and sit with you. And you may need help with your form, or you may not, because people were proud. And people are proud, and they may want to fill it in themselves, or they may need assistance, or they may not.
And what area do you work in?
I'm now in I'm now in education, in an education centre.
Okay, I'm just thinking there, as far as I know, and I think it's Limerick Hospital, they have something like that program. Maybe you know Derv or Fergus. Is it a literacy? I'm not sure what the title is.
Literacy audit.
Is
Helen
it?
Ryan from
Yeah.
Nolan did a literacy audit,
Yeah.
and they changed a lot of their signage
But
and
they
their
have
information.
But they have a person like that's their designated post, isn't it, Ferguson? I think isn't it just
Yes.
Limerick? Yeah.
It's Limerick University Hospital, yes.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
So
Because, yeah, because hospitals, I've often thought, you know, you go to a hospital and you have to go for your blood test, and you're sent here, there, and you have to read the signs. There should be like pictures of a blood test, or
they have made improvements, I think, you know, with the colour coding.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of work happening in the health literacy space.
I suppose the liaison person was something that I thought, you know, that should be a role, you know, you'd have to know, read the signs. And as I think might have been Jane, this is where I think the subject kind of changed a little bit. The topic went a little bit off because of that, people having different levels of literacy. And Jane had said earlier on, is it Jane? Sorry, that you can't assume what levels people have from the travelling community.
And that's brilliant. I'm only conscious of the time that we're.
Sorry,
You're grand, brilliant. We could chat all day. Does anyone know who was in group 3 or the next group if you have a spokesperson? Do you have anything extra to add there that Catherine or Anne didn't cover? I see Breda has a message in there about they use the chat approach, which is great.
I think that we were in group 3, I think.
Okay, Maeve.
Alex there, how are you?
Yeah, and have you anything extra to add?
I don't think we've much extra to add really. The issue of forms that you've kind of no control over has come up again. I work in a local development company, so work at the site.
You know where we are.
Yeah, so look, it's just one of those things, and it's just to try different approaches to, you know, to chat to people and be filling up the form as you go yourself and that kind of thing, and then get them to check over. So it's those kind of things, but jump in, lads, if there's anything else, but we didn't really have anything else.
Brilliant. Okay, what about the other 2 groups there? Well, we don't know which number, 4 or 5. Do you have anything extra to add to that? Because we have a little bit of signposting for you.
Or even Helen, question 2 for them, maybe for groups 4 and 5.
Yeah, we've kind of covered there, like any changes that you think you might make. No?
I think they're getting tired now, Helen.
Getting tired, okay. Sure, we can move on. Like, look, we've contact details afterwards if there's anything you want to come back to any of us with. I suppose where to from here, or what support we can give you today to follow up. I suppose we have 4 different areas here. So I'm going to look at the ETB one and the Adult Literacy for Life, and then Trish will look after NALA and the libraries. So I suppose for the ETB one, there are 16 education training boards, ETBs, across the country. In each ETB, there's an adult literacy or an adult learning centre. Sometimes the name varies from one to the other. They're the statutory providers. So they have to do it, and they will do it. So if they're learner centres, you have different options. You can have accredited options or unaccredited. Usually it goes up to about level 3 or 4. I suppose the 4s would be maybe an IT or ESAL and that. Generally, the literacy would be levels 1 to 3. I suppose what's really good is that the tutors are trained to work with adult learners, and you know that they'd understand the difference between the andragogy and the pedagogy. As well as tutoring for learners coming in, I suppose there's a lot of literacy awareness training happening, and that can be tailored to suit your organisation. So the local centre manager or the adult literacy organiser, they can help you with that or direct you on that. There'll be close links to partner organisations in each region, so like MAB, Citizens Information, the libraries. They should be collaborating locally. It is a free and confidential service, and I suppose that's to get that word out there. If you do have an adult presenting at your centre or your space that they could do with support, often like that could be a huge barrier, that they're worried, will it cost something or will anyone know? So it's absolutely free and confidential. One of the lists that Fergus is going to circulate with you as well, It's a link for the adult literacy organisers, or sometimes they're called centre managers within each ETB. So there's at least one ALO in every county, and some counties would have more than that. Just from Kilkenny and Carlow, we have one in Kilkenny and one in Carlow. So that's a little bit on the ETBs. So the next one then, it's the Adult Literacy for Life. So it's a new strategy. We could talk about it for a long time, but we won't. Simon Harris launched it back in September 2021. So the aim there is an Ireland where every adult has the necessary literacy, numeracy and digital skills to fully engage in society and realise their potential. So each ETB has a regional literacy coordinator, and again, Fergus will circulate that, and that list is freely available. So like if you have trouble maybe sometimes getting through to your ETB because there's a huge number of people, there's only one regional literacy coordinator and their details are there and they will get back to you. There's a lot of different things happening. I suppose one thing is making connections, mapping out and seeing what's happening, and providing awareness training as well. And that can be a very short session or a longer session, or like what we did with Trish in the Carlow Literacy Friendly Project. They can signpost you to different services and stuff as well. Last year, 2023, we had the Collaboration and Innovation Fund. So that'll be happening again next year. The big thing on that is collaboration. If you don't know about it, you could contact your regional literacy coordinator and they can update you on next year's one. We'll expect it out in January, February time. They're looking for innovative projects. I'm sending you a link as well to the Adult Literacy for Life website, so you'll see projects that were successful this year. But the big thing is collaboration. I think the max was 50,000 that you could apply for. And there's all sorts of weird and wonderful projects there that were funded this year. So if you want to keep an eye on it, or you can contact your local RLC, and when the date is released, that they'll follow up with you. I suppose the big thing about and I don't want to go on about it, there's 4 pillars: understanding, access, expanding and empowerment. And I think it was Mary that put in there about the UDL earlier on. That's a big thing at the moment for staff within the FET sector, Mary, for the UDL and the plain English training, and that's coming in over expanding the services. What else did there? I had forms, RLC details. There's probably a lot more, but go back to your local RLC or give us a shout if we can do anything for you. And Trish is going to talk to you now about NALA. And we're nearly out. Oh God, we're over time, are we? Sorry.
Right, thanks, Helen. Well, just to finish up then, a bit about NALA and the libraries in this sphere, if you like. So NALA's remit then is to keep adult literacy on the national agenda, really, and they provide services and fill gaps that aren't provided by other providers, such as the ETBs. They have additional educational supports, publicity campaigns, research, and so on. They also provide professional services to help organisations remove literacy-related barriers for customers or staff that may struggle with reading or writing. If you go onto their website, you'll see a lot of these, like we learn with NALA, and a lot of the programmes they offer. More specific maybe to today and what we've been speaking about, they offer plain English editing and training services. They can give literacy awareness training. And what might be of interest to some of you is there are online professional development courses available in literacy awareness and integrating literacy. So they might be 2 that specifically I want to kind of bring to your attention. The link there is there to those courses, and everything's free. So just log on and have a look around. It's well worth a look. And on to ourselves then as the libraries. We have 30 public library services around the country. I don't know how many branches, but it's 30 actual services as such. And Right to Read is a nationally coordinated framework for literacy support and development that's delivered through the local authorities. And in each local authority, the public library service is in charge of the Right to Read programme. What we do is we collaborate together to engage more directly, maybe with the literacy needs of the community. So each service has a network which is made up of members or representatives from relevant agencies such as family resource centres, childcare committee, adult literacy services, and so on. And we're led by the Right to Read coordinator in each county. So there's annual action plans, and in terms of adult literacy, I just wanted to, these may include or would include at a minimum what libraries that can provide materials, such as readers, quick reads, adult literacy materials, audiobooks, huge range of online services, library tours, and these can be tailored specifically to the needs of the groups that are visiting. We support classes. Some libraries can actually provide classes themselves and support them themselves. Others would host the classes, say in adult language support, English conversation for adults learning English, digital skills, and so on. Also then there's computer, internet access, Wi-Fi, photocopying and printing facilities in all our branches. So if you wanted to find your local right to read coordinator or your local libraries, if you look at the link here again, librariesireland.ie, that will give you connection to the whole range of facilities and the whole range of services around the country. And just to thank you for myself and Helen, I don't know if we have time for questions, but if there's one thing you took from today, I'd ask maybe, and we both ask, that when you go back to your workplace, that maybe just have a look around and see if there's just one little thing that you can do to make a difference, because just one simple thing that might be simple to us and small difference to us can make a huge difference to somebody who needs the support.
Okay, Trish, thanks very much. So it just leaves me to say thanks very much to Trish and Helen. Lots of practical tips and ideas in here, and from yourselves in the breakout rooms, you also had ideas and tips there. So as Trish said at the end, maybe even go back to your workplace and think of one thing you can change, maybe to make your website easier to read, less text in it, maybe your notices easier to read, or maybe the way forms you could change and make them easily adaptable, or adapt forms the way Trish showed from the library. And as I said, that was difficult to read there on the presentation, but I'm going to send that out now so that you can have a good look through it and see what they did, how they adapted. So thanks a million. Thanks everyone. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions because it's 12:05. But just once again, thanks everyone for joining, and a big thanks to Trish and Helen for a great webinar. And just to let you know, next Friday, our webinar is on making health literacy everyone's business. That's on 11 next Friday. And then Friday after that, 17th, we've got an introduction to plain English. So that's on at Friday 17th at 11 o'clock. So thanks everyone for joining in. Thanks again, Trish and Helen. Thanks, Derv. All the best. Have a good weekend. Hope it doesn't rain.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fergus. Thanks, Derv.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.